Welcome to Yōkaizō, a fast-paced creature battler developed by Grimsong Games. In this video, we'll go over the basics of how to build a deck and play the game, so you can begin your journey into the haunting world of Yōkaizō right away. Yōkaizō is a strategic battle among 4 yokai at a time, 2 for you and 2 for your opponent. Yokai take turns from high to low speed, allowing you to play cards to trigger effects, and then use those cards to pay for their attacks. As your yokai take damage, you'll represent that damage by playing cards behind them and flipping them to trigger counter effects and balance the tides. Each yokai has a soul value, and the goal of the game is to knock out or banish enough of your opponent's yokai to fill their grave with a soul value of 13 or more. Yōkaizō is made up of 5 primary zones: Field, Souls, Void, Grave, and Limbo. The Field is a 2-slot zone where your yokai take turns and engage in combat. Each field yokai has a soul zone behind it, which is used to display its damage taken. The Void is a 6-slot resource zone where you can play cards on your yokai's turns, and from which you can destroy those cards to pay for its attacks. The Grave is where yokai go when they are banished, usually by being knocked out in combat. The Limbo is your personal discard pile, which is cycled as your deck depletes. If something is attached to a yokai, simply place it nearby. And if a card is exiled, simply remove it from the play space. But they may be returned or called upon, so keep them close. Every card in Yōkaizō is a yokai, but they can be used in many different ways. On the top right is the yokai's element. Below that is its speed, representing when it takes a turn in a round. Below that is its soul value, representing half of its health. This 4 soul value yokai can take 8 damage before being sent to your grave. Further down the card is the yokai's special attack, which can be used on its turn by paying for the cost on the right. Finally, the bottom of the card shows the yokai's special effect. There are 3 types of special effects: Field, Soul, and Void. As you can guess, these are only active when the yokai bearing them is in the relevant zone. For example, this yokai's field effect is only active when it's placed in the field, but it can still be played in the Void or Soul zones. To get started playing, you must make a deck of 40 cards with no more than 3 copies of any yokai, or you can use one of our elemental starter decks. Shuffle your deck and draw 6 cards. Then choose 2 yokai to play into the field, place them face down, and reveal them together with your opponent. The yokai with the highest speed will begin the match. If you speed tie, you can decide which yokai goes first by revealing cards from your decks until one player reveals a higher speed than the other. At the start of a yokai's turn, you and your opponent both draw until you have 6 cards in hand. Next, you can play up to 3 cards in your Void, triggering any effects as they become active. Finally, your yokai can take one of 3 actions: Special Attack, Basic Attack, or Return. To Special Attack, destroy cards in your Void by sending them to your Limbo to fulfill the cost shown on the card. If an attacking yokai's ally matches an element cost, it can relieve you of that cost. Additionally, any 2 cards in your Void can pay for an element. Here, this yokai relies on an ally to cover 1 electric cost, pays 2 Void cards to cover 1 dark cost, and pays 1 Void card to cover the 1 generic cost displayed by the Void icon. Carry out the attack in the order listed on the card, declaring target enemy field slots as necessary for damage and effects. In situations where you can't afford your special attack, or you want to grow your Void by paying less, you may want to Basic Attack. To Basic Attack, declare a target enemy field slot and destroy up to 3 cards in your Void by sending them to your Limbo. Then target the yokai in that slot for the same amount in damage. When a yokai takes damage, you track each point of damage in its soul zone by playing a card from hand face down or flipping an existing card face up. These can be done in any order when taking multiple points of damage, and this often leads to setting face-down traps to flip later. When cards are here, we refer to them as souls. If a flipped soul has a soul effect, it will activate the moment it flips, stalling the remainder of damage until it resolves. Once each soul effect resolves, continue damage into that field slot until it's completed or the attacking yokai is removed from the field. The only time that soul effects do not trigger on flip is when a yokai is taking a special type of damage called break damage, which ignores all soul effects. Souls are placed into designated soul slots. To know how many soul slots a yokai has, check its soul value on the card. Your 4 soul value yokai has 4 slots available. Once its soul zone has 4 face-up resolved souls in it, it's banished to your grave, and its souls are destroyed to your limbo. You'll replace it with a new yokai between turns. Anytime you're taking damage or playing a new yokai into the field, you play that card from your hand, but you have the option of blindly playing off the top of your deck as well. The last type of action is called the return, which allows you to swap the yokai taking its turn with another yokai from your hand. To return, the yokai must first take 2 break damage. Recall that break damage does not trigger soul effects. Next, swap the yokai with a yokai in your hand. Note that you can never swap a yokai into the field that would be banished immediately on entry due to having too many face-up souls. The return action is useful for stalling banishes or manipulating speed tiers in your favor as rounds progress. Rounds are played in these turns from high to low speed. In the event of an opposing speed tie, the game favors taking turns back and forth. If there is a speed tie on the same side, their controlling player simply chooses their order. Speed tiers are checked when the first yokai in that speed tier begins a turn. Once a speed tier is checked, a yokai entering the field with that speed or higher will not get a turn until the next round. For example, if this 5-speed yokai returns during its turn and a new 5-speed yokai replaces it, that new yokai would not get a turn this round, but a 4-speed yokai replacing it would get a turn this round, as its speed tier has not yet been reached. Once the slowest yokai in the field has completed its turn, begin again with the highest speed at the start of a new round. We have just scratched the surface of the unique effects and interactions available in Yōkaizō, and each element has a special set of mechanical properties for you to explore. Visit Yōkaizō.com to review the rules and learn more about each element. Try our official Yōkaizō deck builder to amass your legion of yokai, and join our Discord server to play with us on Tabletop Simulator. Please like and subscribe to stay informed. Thank you for supporting an indie game, and enjoy your journey into the haunting world of Yōkaizō.